Hi, this is Ryan, and this is OptiMiser Residential Energy Auditing Software Measure Costs. I'm going to talk to you about the two basic ways that you can configure your measure costs in OptiMiser. In OptiMiser, we break down energy savings into some categories that correspond to areas of the building, and then appliances, some separate appliances, and then infiltration and ventilation. So here is the list of improvement areas where we're calculating savings. You can see these on any of the tables in the improvements area, the packages table or the detail table, customs, costs, etc. You can see there's PV, attic, ceilings or flat roofs, air sealing and ventilation, walls, attics, windows, doors, etc. Okay. If you want to edit the costs in any of those areas, it's pretty straightforward. You can do it while you're working through the wizard. So let's say I wanted to add an attic improvement. So I'm working through this audit. I say, yeah, I want to specify an improvement, and I'm going to blow in cellulose in the attic to R49. Well, that happens to be the default improvement here. I could change that improvement, pick one off the list. Let's do an R60 cellulose. It has in the library already, it has a built-in measure cost. And so given the size of this attic area, it's going to take the unit cost, multiply it by the square feet of the attic area, and give you your final cost. One quick way to override that cost for that measure is just to click into that cost cell and go ahead and type the cost right in there and hit enter. And voila, when you go back to the improvement detail table, you can see this for this measure, your new cost is going to be reflected there. And that immediately gets factored into the SIR for that measure. Okay, so what if you want to make that permanent? What if you want to change the library cost, unit cost for those measures? Well, one easy way to do it is while you're in one of these areas, the attics, the walls, the windows, the infiltration section, you can hit the switch to detailed button. I'm in the wizard interface right now, and on every wizard screen I have a switch to detailed button that takes me to a detailed interface. You get a lot more control over this particular measure. And while I'm in here on my improve side, I see this improvement drop down, same as I saw on the wizard screen, where I have my cavity insulation. And over to the right, I see a little caret button. Okay, those caret buttons appear to the right of all of the improvement areas. So here's the radiant barrier improvement control, and off to the right there's the caret button. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button that's to the right of the attic cavity insulation control, and it pops up this window, which is a direct view into our measure cost library. So here are the default measure costs for this list, this attic cavity insulation list. While I'm in here, I can edit the unit costs for any of these default items. I can set whether or not they're going to be included on that drop-down list. So if I only wanted to see a couple of them, I could actually uncheck these check boxes in the include column so that I only saw a few on the list. I can change the default improvement, and I can also select one, hit create new from selection, and create an entirely new selection, which I can name whatever I want. I can assign it whatever R value I want, and I can give it whatever labor material unit cost I want. For many of these items, you have the option to price things under different units. For cavity insulation, it's going to limit you to pricing by board feet or by square feet. For things like systems, heating and cooling systems, it's going to give you the option to price by BTU or just per each pricing. So you can put in a total cost for a type of unit. In that way, you can adjust your measures, and every time you start OptiMiser, you will have your costs in the library. Okay, so what if you want to add an additional item that's not part of one of these energy savings measures? Like maybe it's a health and safety item, or maybe it's just some extra labor and material that you have associated with your project. One quick way to do that is to go to the Improvements Customs table. Click the Added button to show the added item rows. And you see there's a bunch of blank green rows here at the bottom. This is very easy to do. You just click on one of the rows and it brings up this little data entry pop-up. And you can type in whatever item you want. Give it whatever cost you want. And then you can select to include that package, that item in your package right here. Give it a longer description. You can add notes if you want. You can even add detailed labor and material cost if you want, so you can alter that breakdown. So, and you can define the units if you want to. Now when I go to my report, that item is going to be included. If I want to build out a list of items to keep here as defaults, I can continue to edit this and then hit the save button right on the above the table. And that will save whatever I type here as the default. Every time you start OptiMiser, you will have this list of added items that you can add. So up above on the same table are my areas where it's bringing in the energy improvement measures. And then down below are my added items. Very simple. Another approach to adding detail, and this is really good if you want to really use OptiMiser to do complete bidding on your jobs and generate work scopes that are suitable to give to a subcontractor. So you want to be able to list out the detail inside of a particular improvement. So you have already indicated that you want to add an attic improvement, but you want to be able to list out the all the different little materials and labor items that you want to go into that bid. So what you're going to do is click the bid button either on the improvement page, on the improvement detailed page, or go to the bid form by going to the bid tab. Either way works. Why don't I go to the bid tab so I can show you how to navigate around that right now. And then the first thing you want to do is select the improvement area that you want to look at. Let's look at attics. And when I go to a specific improvement area, it automatically wants to show me all the rows that are available. So obviously not all these things are included in my current bid for this project. But it's showing me a lot of these rows that are available to be included. So these include unselected. That means that even if I hadn't added an attic item into my package already to propose to a client, it would still show here, and I could edit it. And also zero cost items. So these are items that I haven't added any to my bid, and so they have zero cost, but it's still showing them. Up above, there's a little hashed line there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it on the video. Up above are all the items that are energy savings measures. Again, those are coming straight from the modeling. Those are what you add as you're going through the wizard interface. You specify the cabinet installation that you want to add, the knee walls, etc. And these labor material unit costs that you see on the screen, those are coming from the library. You can actually override those right here by just clicking on the table and editing them. It brings in the unit, so in this case it's saying that there's that attic area. It's 1,169 square feet. You can actually override the units here too. If you want to actually say, well, we modeled it as 1,169, but for some reason we're going to price it out as 1,100. You can actually put that number right in there, and that overrides the units from inside the model. So I'm going to remove that for the time being and leave those things alone. Generally speaking, if you set up your costs inside the measure library, as you go through the modeling, that stuff will all work out and be the way you want it to, be priced the way you want it to be. What we're going to do is add some items down below here. So down below the hashed line are bid form line items. So these are items that don't have a specific relationship to something in the model. Just because I'm adding some here on the bid form doesn't mean it's going to change. And in fact, it absolutely will not change the savings that were being projected. So down here, for instance, I have attic hatch insulation as a line item. If I say that we're going to add a 3-foot by 6-foot area there, okay, at $15 a square foot. Oops, it didn't get in my extra dimension there. So a 3 foot by 6 foot area, that's 18 square feet. That's $270 total. It doesn't actually add any insulation to the attic that's being modeled. This is just a line item. So in that way you can go and you can add cost items to a particular area. In this case, it's adding it to that attic area, and it's going to change the SIR for that attic job, but it's not going to affect the savings. It's just adding cost items to that attic area. So you could add baffles in here, blocking and sealing, and so forth, and you can add whatever cost you want. These items you can add and edit from this area here. It's called the Bid Templates tab. Right down at the bottom, there's this button called Bid Form Line Items. When I pop that open, it looks a lot like the editors that I used to edit the improvement measure lists. But this lets you edit these line items. So I'll go into an improvement area, and I'll say I want to edit a line item. You can also add total rows like cost adjustment factors and things like that. But in here, I want to add some add or edit my line items. So I pick one, and so I want to say I want to create new from selection. I can do that if I want to, or I can pick one that's existing, and I can edit the costs. Again, I can choose to include these on the bid form, make them available, or not. So in that way, you can create just about any line item you want and have it available on your bid form, so that when you're working on a project, you can go to the bid form, go to that area, and just start adding units there. Or you can type right over it and name it something else. You can just start typing and add an item right over another one, okay, and add cost for it. And those items, again, they won't show up in the high-level summaries of the proposal for your clients in the sales report, like when you have a table in the homeowner report that says, I'm going to insulate the attic and do some air sealing. It won't go into detail about these line items, but at the end of the report, you can include the bid form. So let me show you that real quick. Here in the PDF report, way down at the bottom, there's a page called the bid form. So you can select to include this. It's titled Proposal Details here in the homeowner report. You can include this or not, and it goes into detail and it adds everything that you included on that bid form will be printed in here. So in that way, again, you can go and flesh out these bids as much as you want. And that's as opposed to the general improvement tables that appear at the beginning of the report, where the cost is going to be the same. So it's bringing in all of the costs from the bid form, but it's going to summarize them by those general improvement areas. Here's the attic row. So notice it doesn't include the detail about about that attic hatch insulation that I added as a line item. It just summarizes it as one attic improvement. It does, however, include the additional items from the custom table. So in that way, if you want to add items that are outside your improvements and are truly additional, and you want them to appear up towards the beginning of your proposal to a customer to make sure they see those, you can add them as additional items. So again, those were over here on the improvements custom table down in the added area. So those are two ways to add measure costs, or I guess three. We talked about using the library to change the costs of the improvement measures. We talked about going to the improvements custom table, adding added items, and we also talked about going to the bid form and adding line items to a specific improvement area to flesh out those bids. Thank you.